Okay, everyone. Hello to the heavily biased guitar reviews. This is the VCGS podcast, and today's date is November 1st, 2021. My name is Alec Peterson, and I'm joined by Joel Thompson, my co host for the evening. And our guests today are David Sosa and Luis Medina. Before we begin, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Lockheed Engineering, and a new sponsor we're bringing on, TransSoft Solutions. Um, if you're listening to this and you have a business and you're interested in sponsoring the Guitar Society here in Vancouver, we do have a fund matching program in place right now until December 1st. And any funds, sponsorship amounts of $200 or more will be matched. So please contact us at info@vancouverguitar.org. Full disclosure, David Sosa and Luis Medina are current or past volunteers of the Guitar Society as well. And we are all at one point or another schoolmates at UBC School of Music. So I'm looking forward to this. It's going to be a really fun chat. It's been a while since we all got together in the same space, this virtual space today. And this podcast is here to promote our Gala concert on November 6th, where David Sosa and Luis Medina will be playing solo pieces and some duets, I hear, alongside a few more performers, including the Vancouver Guitar Orchestra and the Capilano Guitar Trio. So that info is also on vancouverguitar.org. So please check that out. Buy some tickets. We have a live stream going on. So if you're listening to this podcast from somewhere way outside of Vancouver, you can still join in and watch that as well. So, welcome, guys. I thought maybe it would be nice just to ask you guys a little bit about what your program is and what you're playing, and maybe you can just talk to us a little bit about that.
Sounds like a plan.
Who wants
David,
to
do you
go
want to go
first?
first? I want to volunteer, David.
I go first. I can go first. So, hey guys, thank you so much for the invitation, and hello to everybody who is listening to us now. I'm going to play music from a program that I'm going to bring to Colombia in South America this year. I will be playing there in December, and I'm going to play four short pieces from that program. All of them are music from South America. So it includes two pieces by Brazilian composer Luis Bonfá. One is Maña de Carnaval, and the other one is Samba de Orfeo. Then I will play music from Argentina. It's called Alfonsina y el Mar, or Alfonsina and the Sea. And finally, a piece from Colombia, the place where I grew up. This type of music is called cumbia, and it's an arrangement by Colombian guitarist and composer Gentil Montaño. So my program is going to be music from South America, and then I will play with Luis some duets. Also, South American music, something from Argentina, a milonga, and a piece by Celso Machado, composer from Brazil who lives here in, in Canada. So that's the program.
That's awesome. How about you, Luis?
Well, recently, I'm just going to go into it. I'm going to be playing a suite called Imágenes de Yucatán, or Images of Yucatán. For those who know a little bit of Mexican geography, Yucatán is one of the states in the Gulf of Mexico. Anyway, this piece was written for another Mexican guitarist named Cecilio Pereira. And it was, it's in three movements. And each one takes after, I guess, a scene or a different town or city in Yucatán. The first movement is called Mérida. Then we go into Paseo Montejo, which is a more sort of like folky, traditional sound piece. And the last one is titled Chichen Itza, which is the area where the Mayan ruins are, all of the pyramids. So it has a little bit of I guess it tries to encompass the different images of the city, where it starts with, it sounds to me like it's influenced by First Nations sounds and music. And then it goes into a different sort of like music that has, going through the city at the moment. So there's some salsa sounds and kind of cool like that. So that's what I'm going to be playing. I'm going to be playing this Imágenes de Yucatán by the Mexican composer Julio Cesár Oliva. Yeah. And of course, we'll be closing that first half with some fun duets that David and I decided to just try and put together last minute. It'll be fun.
That sounds pretty dope, dude. When was this suite written?
It was written in 2014.
Nice.
Yeah. It's a very recent work when you think about it.
Yeah, yeah. It's got some. That's like a lot of sort of like Albanese vibes too, right? Like it's very kind of like nationalist in a way, but it's like I guess it's made almost like a new nationalism, because like you say, it's like taken from a lot of like indigenous music and stuff like too. Like that's
Not all of
something.
it, but yeah, for sure. That there's a certain folk element in Oliva's music. It's really funny. Today is the only time that I was able to pin down a meeting with Jeffrey McFadden, Dr. Jeffrey McFadden, because I wanted to talk to him about what I could do, sort of like start doing for research towards next year when I started DMA. And plan B seems to be of getting enough, like more traction, which is doing research on Julio Cesar Oliva's music. And we just got chatting a little bit, and I realized that he kind of mirrors this whole trend of composers where they go and study their folk roots significantly. There's a lot of, during their lives, a significant period where they arrange folk music, and then they go on and experiment, and then later in their life, they sort of like have a more cohesive, like more clear idea of what their personal, artistic view is. So that's kind of like where this piece fits in. It's more like later in his life at this point, which is very much a crystallization of that, all of that folkness, his experimentation, and now what he might feel like is his own, view on music.
So is Olivas like he's like a middle-aged guy now at this point, hey?
Not quite middle-aged. He's, I think, 72.
Oh, okay, yeah, a little bit past that then.
A
Yeah.
little bit past the middle-aged.
So he would have been in his like 60s when he wrote your piece.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, so he's got like a huge trajectory as a composer. I was trying to talk to him into writing a new piece, commission a new piece, and he was like, well, why don't I just dedicate something to you that I've already written? Because I have like over 300 pieces that aren't, they haven't been published or dedicated to anybody.
That's a pretty good one for the resume, hey? I've got a piece dedicated to me. It's not bad.
Yeah. So, I'm in talks with this, but like, it's, so yeah, he has just a ton of music. And the thing is, I don't think there's anything published in the past 15, 20 years. So it's really hard to find his music unless you've, met him directly, or somehow know somebody who has the score to something else. There's this guitarist from who's in Texas right now. His name is Hector Rodriguez, and he literally just posted a recording of himself like last week of this suite Mexicana written by Oliva that you can't find the score for whatsoever. The only way that he got the score is because that piece was dedicated to his teacher. So that's kind of like looking for music by Oliva is like a Easter egg hunt. It's good luck finding them, if you believe that it exists to start with. So yeah, it's really interesting.
Does he not have a publisher for his works, or?
No, he used to. He used to publish some things.
I was gonna say, like, I listened to some of his music after you introduced me, and his compositional style is like very mature and developed and works really nicely on the guitar. So it's kind of surprising to me that he's like such a obscure figure.
Luis
is going to change all of that. Just watch.
By the sounds of it, I just might have to, I'm going to have to take a trip down to Mexico City, talk to him, do research, and see if he can be gracious enough to pass on his music, try and help to make his music more widely available. But we'll see.
Yeah,
Sorry, you were going to say something?
Composers from, yeah, I'm just having some problems with the connection. Are you guys able to hear me well?
Most of the time. You are cutting in and out a little bit though.
Maybe I can connect from my phone. it's going to be, I think, better. Maybe I can just
Sure.
go out and just, you got, yeah, let me just do that and I will be back just in less than a minute. Okay.
All right, we'll see you in a minute.
Many hours later.
Sorry, we were resuming recording now. We just had some connection issues there. And the floor is yours, David.
Sorry guys about that. Really bad connection today. I don't know why. Usually it's very, very stable. But yeah, sorry about that. So what I was telling is that it is very, very common that many composers from Central America and South America, they don't really like publish their works. I have met many people, especially in South America, and they have like tons of compositions, very, very nice music, but nobody knows about them. Only like their students, but they don't have it like on books. It's a shame that they don't. Maybe it's a lack of motivation and also lack of resources. It's maybe a little bit hard for them just to do it.
I know that even like in other fields, like scholarship from, I mean, like what's often called like the global South, right? Like basically anywhere south of like Texas, right? Like it's incredibly hard for these people to get published or taken seriously in a lot of circles, right? Which I think is pretty tragic. And yeah, I'm not terribly surprised. It is saddened, obviously, though, that it's the same in music.
Yeah, well, it sounds like from what Luis was telling me about this guy is that like all his scores are handwritten, and like does he have like a website or anything where he can put things up? Like, so it sounds like he needs someone to open up Finale or Sibelius and like notate his scores into something nicely electronic, and then someone who's like savvy enough with the internet to just like put it out there.
He needs a scribe.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's very, like for me, it's like very strange, but sometimes they have the opportunities. They can create their own website. They have, let's say, money to publish it, but they just don't want to do it. They just do it for fun. I've talked to some of them, like, why don't you do it? Like, yeah, just do it for fun. I'm not really looking for like to make it bigger.
I almost feel like they suffer of that, I guess, issue of the great artist mind. You know, they do art for the sake of art, not for themselves. So there's no, you know, extrinsic motivation to do this other than just for the sake of it. So, you know, it's like, well, I remember when I was talking to Oliva, when we were chatting, we were connecting through email about what would it take to commission a piece? And I was like, well, do you have a fee? Do you have an idea of how much, you know? He was like, well, I really don't know because I don't do commissions. I just write for the sake of writing. I'm not looking for fame or money. I just do it for the sake of music. So it's like, that's one of the reasons that he's probably such a great composer, you know, is that it's only for the pure sake of it. But it just makes it very complicated for anybody else, like mortals like myself, who just want to play his music, you know.
Well, it sounds like he's pretty open to the idea of people actually playing his music. It's just a matter of,
for sure,
you got to have a person like you or whoever, right? Like just actually keeping their ears open enough and actually willing to go and find these dudes like once or gals once they so good on you, man. Maybe I'll end up playing a bunch of this guy's music now too. Sounds like it's good.
I'll have to find it. It's fun. For those who tuned into the festival concert, I played that piece then. So, you know, you can get a sense of what it sounds like. And plus, there's actually, if you just input on Spotify, Julio, Cesár, Oliva, you'll see quite a bit of works. Like quite a few pieces himself playing it, or other performers recording his music. But you can listen to it.
Yeah, but
it's
not a
pieces
catalog
of the last
of
20 years.
Not a catalog.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Yeah. Jeff brought to my attention that there's this, what did he call it? GSP. I forget the name. But anyway, GSP publications have 3 pieces by him in his catalog. I mean, that's nothing in comparison, right? So yeah, like just being able to go in, check all the music, that would be amazing. Just making it widely available, because I really think his music is worthy of becoming sort of like part of the core repertoire of classical guitar. I really think so. I showed Alec one of his pieces called Sonatango, and I was kind of telling him it sounds like, Piazzolla and Ponce had a baby, and that was Julio Cesar Oliva. It's his music is just highly lyrical, very harmonically intense as well. So it is quite good music, I think.
Sounds fascinating. It would be great, of course, to like just have more core composers, especially ones that are not dead in our curricula. You know what I mean? Like we have very, very few of those. It feels like we got like
Right.
Bogdanovich and like
Assad.
Brower and who? Sorry.
Assad.
Dians.
Assad's, yeah. Dian's is no longer with us, unfortunately. Although his
guess
music will
yeah.
be considered modern for quite some time, I think, still.
Right.
Which is a testament to him. But yeah, it would be great to have a bit more.
I mean, there's also Brian Johansson, but like there's the point is there's really not that many, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know much about other instruments, right? But like, I gotta think that they're doing better than we are.
Definitely.
Yeah.
What
I
else do you
wonder,
guys have on the horizon after this upcoming concert? I saw, David, you're going back to Colombia to do some performances.
Yeah, I will be back in December after almost 2 years and a half. I haven't been able to do it because of COVID. So yeah, this time I will have a concert on December 11th with a saxophone player. I'm going to do some jazz and Latin American music, also classical music. And then on the 18th, I will play a solo concert. It will be called South America, music from the 12 South American countries. And that concert is going to be in a special place for me because I used to play in that theater so many times when I was younger and living in Colombia. And I haven't played there since maybe 12 or 13 years ago. So it's like a special concert. So I have just like that next month. Yeah.
That's awesome. Are you going to be recording your concerts or anything like that?
Yes, I know that the first one is going to be streamed live. I will post a link on Facebook or on Instagram. Not sure about the second, but I think we can make it like a recording or something. Definitely.
Nice.
So I know the last time I spoke to you, David, you were playing this, I think this same set, right?
Yes.
Like yeah. So you've been doing this one for a little while. You were telling me too that did you ever manage to actually like record all these songs or?
No, I didn't record it. I got the idea of doing this in 2018. Okay, so I was going to do the recording, and I got a bad injury that made me stop playing guitar for 6 months. I didn't play at all for 6 months, so I had to stop that. Then I started like recovering a little bit. I played that program, the South America program. I played it in London, England 2 times, Italy, and Colombia. But this time I'm going to play the game, but in a different city. So it's like for other type of audience, not in the same place. Yeah.
Okay. Are you still thinking about making this a CD eventually, or?
Yeah.
Okay. Eventually, though, maybe being the operative word.
Yeah, I think this coming year I will record it. Yeah, I really want to do it, but there is always something that happens. First was the injury, then I had something else. Like life is telling me not to do it, but I will try to do it.
It's a little bit cursed then, eh? That's unfortunate.
I will do it. I will record this year, hopefully.
Yeah, don't let the universe beat you, man. Just show who's boss.
How is your playing now, like post-injury, compared to like pre-injury? Like, what do you do differently to take care of that? That's always something I'm curious when I hear.
Yeah,
talk about that.
I got the injury really like it was my fault. Yeah, 100%. I was let's say that I used to practice around 1 hour and 2 hours, 2 hours maximum every day in that time, 2018. And then I got some things. I got a tour with Romilio. You remember Romilio Orellana, right? The guitarist from Chile. I was going to play concerts in Chile with him, and also some concerts in Colombia with a flute player. So it was like a big load of things, a lot of new repertoire. So I went from, let's say 2 hours, I went from maybe 7, 8 hours every day just practicing.
Oh,
So I
wow.
started, yeah, like really bad because I had limited time before the concerts and I had a lot of things to learn. So I wanted to do it. And one day, I never got an injury, right? I've been playing guitar for 22 years. Yeah, 22 years, only that injury. So I was like very confident. And one day I just got the guitar, I was tuning, and I just did this movement, and I felt like here on my thumb, the tendon. Imagine like if you have a knife and someone does like this, like it was like a really bad feeling, a bad pain. So I was like, okay, like what happened? So I started stretching again, taking it easy. I started playing and no problem. Next day, I felt a little bit like that. And there was a moment, maybe 4 days after that, I couldn't play at all. I wasn't able to do C major. Like doing C major chord felt like a big stretch. So I just started learning the repertoire without playing the guitar. So like just looking at the notes. It was also something positive that I learned how to do. But for your question, what I'm doing now is that I always stretch and warm up even more than before. And every time that I feel like a little pain or something, I always stop. I don't let it like grow. That was my mistake before. I started feeling some pain and I didn't really stop, and it became like really bad.
Yeah, I recently had Alan Liu, who people listening know just finished fourth in the GFA finals, like the biggest guitar competition. He's a young player, and I had him play for the studio at UVC, and we were asking him like about his practice routine, and so he's like practicing 6 hours a day, also.
At least,
and
huh?
and he says he spends the first hour and a half just lightly warming up and just like, you know, a big chunk of that is just taking care of the hands and getting into it like slowly and lightly.
It is incredibly athletic when you're starting to deal with those sorts of time periods that you're playing at, right? Like, it's not like the way I play, right? Which is just like, oh, well, I really feel like I'm going to play some guitar right now and it's going to be an absolute blast. So here we go, picking it up and just diving right in, right? But like, yeah, I don't actually play for that long each day, right? I can imagine that if I got to go for like a long marathon, it's going to be different.
Yeah, also I know from like my experience too, like when you have those periods where you get more practice than usual, you feel like you pick up the guitar and you feel like you're more on top of it, like right from the get-go, you know, because
Oh, yeah,
you're
definitely.
just practicing a lot the day before, so you want to get into it right away instead of like taking the patience to actually go through like some kind of routine or something.
Yeah, but like I think if you're going to be doing that in a sustained manner, right, you got to be actually smart about it, unlike me.
Yeah.
I never studied for that long, not even during my bachelor's or my master's. It was only during that time preparing for the concerts. And now I'm not going to do it anymore. And there are other things that I prefer to do. But yeah, it was like a bad experience, but also brought some positive things in my life. So I just learned from that and move on. And I think that now my playing is at the same level it was before the injury. I can just play like good again. Yeah, normally, no pain.
Yeah. Do you approach your teaching differently with this like experience?
The teaching, well, I made more emphasis like on the warm up and also telling my students to always be super careful if they start feeling something strange in their bodies. And just pay attention to that because there are so many different types of injuries. But if you get what I got, it was I don't know the word in English, tendonitis.
That's right.
Yeah.
Tendonitis, yeah. That takes a lot of time to recover. So after I got that, I was able to travel to Chile and Colombia and play the concerts, but it's a very long story. And after that, I had to stop completely for 6 months. I couldn't even play. It was the only way to get rid of the injury and like completely healed. Because at the beginning, I was trying to play a little bit, but it was worse and worse. Only when you stop. So yeah, something that like we need to pay attention to. Something very serious. If you get that tendonitis or something, that can take so many months until you read a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And it is mostly just a waiting game, right? Like once you actually hit that point where you're like really truly injured, right? Like there's no extra steps you can take to really like speed up the process. There's no pill you can take. You just have to like not play basically for like half a year or something, right? Like
Exactly. And I've been in a lot of physiotherapy.
Physiotherapy.
Yeah, that helped me a lot. Physiotherapy. Yeah.
oh good, okay, yeah.
Mm.
Cool. And since we're all from Vancouver, I should say, not just you guys, I wanted to know, like, how do you guys feel about music and the arts and the guitar in the city, and also your impressions of it, since I know actually the only person here out of the four of us who grew up in Vancouver is Julio.
That's actually me.
That's right. We're not.
I've never managed to escape my hometown. It's impossible. This place is a black hole.
Well, you got the family and everything there, and I don't know, it's a pretty
Yeah,
nice
it's all
place
over
to
now.
live. There's a reason why I came here.
Yeah.
It's just so damn expensive.
Yeah, there's definitely a downside. So yeah, I'm interested. What do you guys feel about like the state of music in the city, and especially compared to your backgrounds, where you're from?
Luis,
David, do you want to jump in? I was gonna say, okay, fine, I'll take it. For me, it's very strange. No, I mean, I just don't feel like I have a good point of reference, because when I grew up in Mexico, to a certain degree, you could say that music, I mean, culture is kind of already embedded into everything. So it's kind of hard to distinguish it. But in terms of support for the arts or events and yeah, I guess just events in general, I wouldn't say that there's more in Vancouver or that there's more in Guadalajara. I just simply, when I moved here, I was 17, so it's not like I've had that much of a chance to explore Guadalajara on my own. Now, that being said, it was a convenience of where I was geographically in the city that allowed me to go to more concerts, for example. I used to study, the conservatory that I took my lessons in was across from the State Theater where the main orchestra was. And they had dirt cheap tickets for students. So we would go and study there in the morning, and then in the afternoon or in the evening, we were like, okay, well, let's go to watch the orchestra. So we could just hop over, literally just the building. So in that regard, I think the ease of knowing that the school was so close to the main venue of music, that's what made the difference. In Vancouver, I get the sense that everything is kind of like spread out. I mean, now with UBC having the Chant Center, it's a little bit different. But for example, the main orchestra in the city is not at the Chant Center, right? It's in downtown. So for UBC students who try to go to the Orpheum, it just becomes a little bit of a challenge, an extra challenge to try and go to that. But I don't have that, I guess, back to my point, I don't feel like I have that big of a point of reference to say that, one city is better or more than the other. I feel like overall Vancouver may not have that much going on a regular basis. Like you don't have that many places, I feel. But again, it's also hard to compare when everything has been essentially inactive for the past year and a half, right? So yeah, that's my very long version of saying I actually don't know.
Well, maybe we don't need like a value judgment so much, right? As like a just an idea on the differences, and I think you did something for us anyway to sort of explain that, right? Obviously, these are very very different cultures, right? So
yeah, I wanted to ask, is Guadalajara, because I've never been, is it also a very multicultural city like Vancouver?
I would say no. It's very Mexican. In fact, I mean, the state where Guadalajara is in the state of Jalisco. And that's like the whole state is known as the birth of mariachi. Like the strongest mariachi music comes out of Guadalajara, out of Jalisco, sorry, not just Guadalajara, but out of that whole state. That whole mariachi culture is from my home state. So it's very, but then again, that culture it's getting lost over time. But multicultural, I would say no.
So is that reflected in your art scene then? Like, is the style and flavor of art mostly Mexican, or is there like a broader appreciation?
There's a broader appreciation of things, but I like I said, I don't know. I mean, in terms of music,
I'm putting you on the spot then.
yeah, really hardcore. These are my impressions from when I was growing up there, right? A very strong, for example, we do all think of Mexican music as mariachi music, right? That's like the staple Mexican music.
Sure, yeah, that was
right.
Mexican music.
There's other styles, right? But like, even if you see another style of Mexican music, you'll coin it mariachi, even if it isn't, right? Because that's how strong it is, and it's not a jab at people coin it mariachi. It's just that's how it's present. That's how strong the mariachi presence is in sort of like in the world as Mexican. But even in the state of Jalisco, you see a lot of older generations complaining that musicians particularly complaining that the younger generations are not delving into mariachi culture nearly as much. They prefer other styles that are more associated with pop, for example, reggaeton, things that are not deemed as highly cultural. But yeah,
damn so kids are ruining everything as always, right?
I suppose so, right? But yeah, I mean, so it's hard to say. Mariachi for my parents' generation seemed really strong, like the whole serenades and everything. I mean, my dad, for instance, sings mariachi music, and that's like his thing that he loves doing, right? And even as he was growing up, mariachi culture was sort of like diluting into other things. So you can kind of hear still vestiges of mariachi music in other styles that have come up in the last decade or in like 3 decades or so. But it's kind of hard to say. It's present, but not in its original form to coin it. Oh, mariachi music is the main cultural drive of my hometown. Yes, but yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah. No, it's okay. I think like this is not the discussion for it because we've already been going for a bit, but like there's a sort of parallel here between this mariachi music and the sort of like I want to call it state of Western classical music in the Western world, probably a lot in North America, maybe more, right? But like just the idea that it is now something of a relic, right? But yeah, I don't want to get into it too much.
Right.
Feels like nowadays things move so fast that it doesn't take long to become a relic.
I think that's part of it, right?
I think people have always been saying that things move really fast these days. I'm reading something from the like late 19th century from Europe, and the person's talking about how fast things are moving right now, and it's like, cool, buddy, you don't know.
It's one of those.
You could literally.
It's one of those cliche tropes, like everything that's bad was because of the last generation, and the next generation is just as terrible. Like,
I was gonna say, you literally go to that 19th century guy and you can say, "Hold your horses." That phrase had a lot more implications than today.
I think he was very much trying to hold the horses. Yes, I don't think he succeeded very much though.
I imagine his rant. He's like, I had enough having 2 horses carrying my carriage. What is this 4-horse thing carrying, me to places? I'm not that big in a rush, right? It is a danger to the roads to have such a high, velocity vehicle, right?
So much horsepower in carriages these days.
That's right.
I tell you.
That's right.
Anyway, we should hear from David as well.
Yeah.
What's the state of art in Colombia? If you can shed some light on that for us.
Okay, yeah. I think, there's many things, but just to summarize, I think in terms of popularity, the guitar is like more popular in Colombia than in Canada, right? I think because of the Spanish influence. So it's very, very common to have, let's say, in the same neighborhood, to have maybe 10 families with guitars, like very, very common. Just to get an idea, when I did my master's here at UBC, I remember that we were, maybe you guys remember, maybe 8 or
12.
nine guitarists.
At some point, we were 12.
Okay, 12 guitarists. Yeah, when I did my bachelor's in Colombia, it was 60 classical guitarists.
Like
the same
6-0.
6-0. So it's like a big,
Wow.
big thing. Yeah. So it's very common, right? It's like a very popular instrument. Yeah, like almost. I would say that in every family, someone plays guitar. It doesn't mean that plays guitar well, but there is a guitar. And I think this is something that happens from Mexico to Argentina. I think in all Central America and all South America, it's just the same. Again, because of the Spanish influence, right? Now that the guitar, the final result of the guitar came from Spain. So okay, so it's more popular there. Now, in terms of level, I think students who are serious about learning the guitar develop higher levels here in Canada or in Vancouver specifically. I think if someone there is a student in Colombia and there is a student in Canada, and they are both serious, they want to like become very, very good guitarists. I think here in Canada, we get like better results, maybe because of the system. Also, maybe the teachers, right? The teachers that we have in here. So I think
I wouldn't doubt that there's a brain drain from South America and Central America up to places that have more money, right? As far as teachers go.
And then the ones
Point
that are
in
left
case,
over
there's two of us here, huh?
Yeah, half of the people here are
Right.
brain drained straight from.
and then the ones left over have to look after 60 students.
Yeah, there's a lot of students.
So yeah, I think they can get a level in here. And in terms of people attending concerts, Colombia also wins like for like a big difference. Like I remember that when Alec and I played a concert in Colombia together in El Retiro, it's a small town, not a city, small town, very, very small town. We had about 150 people in the audience. It was only half of the theater, because I remember that day there was a big storm. I don't know, Alec, if you remember that.
Yeah, I remember what you're saying. It was like pouring.
Yeah,
and
it was
after
crazy.
the concert, people were coming up and saying like, "Oh, that was such a great concert. We enjoyed it so much." And if it wasn't raining like this, it would have been, the hall would have been filled. We would have had 250, 300 people.
But I remember a conversation that we had after the concert. You said that like, oh, it was great because so many people. And for me, because I was used to play in that place, I said like yeah, it was only like half of the theater, but even half of the theater is like bigger than what we have usually, let's say at the Payat Hall, right?
Right.
It's just because people, the instrument is just more popular, more common, so people are just into those things. But I think Canada offers the possibility to develop it to a higher level, to get like better guitarists. You don't see, let's say, guys there playing like Alan. When Alan, you was maybe 12 years old, I met him at that age. I was like, oh my God, like I've never seen a child playing like this, right? Also Hazel and all these kids. Yeah, in Colombia, I don't see, I never saw that.
That's very interesting.
That is very interesting. I can definitely relate to a lot of what David was saying. In terms of like, I can, in Mexico, guitar is also super popular. I mean, the funny thing is classical guitar isn't. But, because guitar is so popular, when you go to university, you take on classical guitar. So yeah, you end up having, for example, at UBC, there's always been generally just one professor at a time, right? To take on, however many students, no more than, I think, 12 that I've heard the number, right? In Mexico, I mean, as you probably guys know, I studied at the university when I was I started studying at the university when I was 15. At the same time as high school. And I remember we had at least 6 teachers, like 6 full-time professors, and each one of them had to take on at least 12 students. Yeah. So the numbers wise, it was massive. But to compare that, I have a friend who I'm still in touch with. He was actually maybe 4 years ahead of me. He was already doing his bachelor's when I started doing my diploma at the university. And he went to do his master's in Europe, and then he went back to Guadalajara. And he's struggling, to find students, to find concerts, to find activities that will, financially allow him to actually make a living out of being a guitarist. To me, that's a huge contrast. I mean, he has a master's, I have a master's. Just based on the location that we're at, I can make a living, right? Maybe not solely of performance, but definitely out of teaching, right? There's enough, interest in education. So it's very interesting to see that contrast. And I think David is right. A concert in Mexico will sell out a lot easier than, say, a concert here. Why? I have no idea. But I can see that, that contrast. So
I think. Sorry for interrupt, Luis. I think it's just because the Spanish influence. The classical guitar is from Spain,
Mm-hmm.
and all the influence that Spain has, like in those countries from Mexico to Argentina, except for Brazil. Just because of that, just part of the culture. Everybody plays guitar. Even in the town, I grew up in a small town, very very small town, and I was the first professional classical guitarist, like the first guy who went to university and graduated from that town. But before me, there were so many people playing guitar, rock bands, folk music, a lot. Even if you go out to the main plaza, like a big plaza, you can see in the bars, in the cantinas, everybody just playing guitar, folk music, singing. It's just part of the culture. And so something else, just very little that I wanted to add is that something that is also like different is that many students in here in Canada, and don't misunderstand me, this is not bad, it's just the way I see it. Many students in Canada, they take lessons because their parents want them to take lessons, but they don't really like, for example, and sometimes their parents know that their children don't like, but they still make them take lessons. In Colombia, it's not like that. Like most of the students that you get, they always like the guitar, because if they don't like and they don't study, their parents are not going to pay for the lessons, because it's harder. It's just here because it's more stable in terms of economy. Some parents have, let's say, a lot of money. They can just pay for the lessons, and if the children don't practice, it's okay. But in Colombia, it's kind of difficult to pay for lessons, right? So you have to make sure that you study and you like. Otherwise, they are going to say, okay, just don't take lessons anymore, because we're not going to pay for something that you are not going to appreciate. Yeah, something different.
This is kind of a little bit of a tangent, but it really drives me crazy when you hear people say things like, oh, you should take music lessons because it's good for you and good for your brain, and like you're gonna get better at math because you take like music lessons. It's like, well, you'd probably get better at math if you took math lessons, like it seems to me like it really obfuscates like the real purpose of like music lessons, which is to learn music. And I think it's like a thing I see even from like musicians here sometimes, but I think it really hides the real value of music, which is just like learning music for like music's sake, right? To be musical and to be artistic and be expressive.
Everything has to have like sort of too much value, I think, when it comes to these sorts of things, right? Like music itself is not a kind of like career path, right? I think in people's minds. And so in order to kind of justify these music lessons, we have to make it more economically, I guess, like certain that you will get something out of it, like in a real kind of monetary sense, right? So like telling people, oh yes, well, you will just be like a more diligent worker, or you will be a more like your brain will work better for math, like sets people up to think like, oh well, great, now my kid will like go and be an engineer if they learn the piano or something like that, right? Which is clearly insane. But like that is yeah, there's no sort of like respect for just like doing things that you enjoy for the sake of doing things that you enjoy. There has to be like a
Yeah.
return.
I mean, there is a truth that, like, you know, if you learn to work really hard at music, you'll be good at working, you'll have the skills to work hard at other things. But you can say that about like anything, really,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, there's
Discipline
no
is
reason,
discipline.
yeah, there's no reason why it's special and unique to music, I think. Anyways, that's like a bit of a tangent, but just it kind of made me like something sparked in me when David said that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was right there with you. I'm glad you said it.
Yeah, no, I totally see that. It's yeah, it certainly feels like it can devalue, the a music education, just like enjoying music, right? Yeah, it's. I was gonna say to David's point, how now we're getting into the whole, education thing, right? Um, it's very interesting because the students that you would normally get in Mexico are students that you could maybe categorize as passionate, for the instrument. Whereas here, the passion needs to be, it's almost like it's on the teacher's responsibility to instill passion of the instrument to the student. So it's very interesting how we have that dichotomy, yet here all the more people get more, like you could consider that because of the ease that people have here, more people will have a music education here, yet it doesn't seem to reflect that, I guess, upbringing when you talk about selling concerts, yet in Colombia there is, like in South America there may be that, right? So it's really interesting to see these dichotomies of like where the passion lies, but where does it reflect, right?
There is some sort of like psychoanalytic reasoning behind this, but I don't want to try and figure it out right now. Right?
Right.
Like you meet a bunch of people, like it's amazing like how many like pianists especially I find that you run into and they have like an ARCT, right, that they did when they were like 17 and they don't like classical music, right? They don't listen to it, they don't want to hear about it, they don't want to talk about it. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's something about like these people that are pushed into liking music, right? That
Mm-hmm.
like makes them rebel as humans, I think,
Right.
are often predisposed to, right? Like, yeah. So I
Yeah.
think that there needs to be a sort of like restructuring of the way that we think about it, for
I was gonna
sure.
Well,
say maybe
too,
go.
I was gonna say like too, like it's good to like want to instill these things in your children too. Like I don't really necessarily believe in this idea of like, oh, just kids should do whatever they want kind of thing, because they might just end up like playing video games all day. But it's like also, I think like instead of pushing kids into things, you want to like pull them in. So you want to have like investment into community activities and stuff. So if your only exposure to piano is like doing exams, then like where's the fun in that? Where at least like, you know, what we're trying to do with the Guitar Society, creating like fun events for people to come out to, and like the picnic things and the social things and stuff like that. Like if you make it like a natural thing where the student is like has some kind of feedback and praise, and they get a sense of like community and they can build friends through doing music, instead of like seeing music as a thing that is a barrier for them to making friends because they're just sitting at home practicing instead of being out. You know, I think that kind of feels like to me like a big difference. Like when David talks about Colombia, it sounds like, well, a guitar sounds like a great way that you can make friends in your neighborhood, because it's like a common thing you guys can talk about, right? Where here that seems to be like a thing that we're lacking in our communities a little bit, is that like creation of this community that music is a center around.
And with
Yeah.
that said, come see the Guitar Gala this weekend. What is it? No, November 6th at the Pyatt
Yeah.
Hall. Get tickets at vancouverguitar.org/events for more information and tickets, like I just said.
Yeah, boy, I'm glad you jumped in there, Joel, because I was afraid that's being a little too obvious.
No, man. I mean, we are the biased guitar review. This entire thing has been a big essay like setup to just convince you that this is the like morally correct decision to make, is to come see David Sosa and Luis Medina this Saturday at 7 p.m. at Pyatt Hall. Tickets at. All right, I'm going to stop now, but yeah, you get the point.
Well, I think that's probably a good place to wrap up then. Like we brought it a full 360 degrees there. You guys want to say anything? How about where can people find more info about you guys and your upcoming activities?
Please, you first.
Okay, this is how it works, right? No, you go. I mean, if they want to find more information on me, not like there's all that much going on at the moment, they can go to my website, medinaguitar.com. They can find whatever information I have going on there. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, same for me on my website, davidsosa.com. You can find all the information, videos, music, concerts.
And I think we can put all this information in the show notes. Am I right, Alec?
That's right. I do believe we can do that. So,
all right, perfect.
If you enjoyed this episode of the Heavily Biased Guitar Reviews, please like and subscribe and share with your friends. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you, guys.
Fun.
Thank you.